Live, it's Tri-State Celebration. Now make welcome your hosts, Pastor Chuck and Jamie Lawrence.
Hello, everybody. I'm Pastor Chuck.
I'm Jamie.
And we're here together. All right. This is
What's
wonderful.
that mean?
I don't know. I like hanging out with
awkward.
you. I know. An awkward moment. Oh, it's terrible to do a high five and you're the only one doing the five. You know,
Okay.
It's got to be 10. Okay. All right. Okay. Coming together. Anyway, this is my wife, Jamie. We are so glad that we're able to be with you today, and we always have a wonderful time when we get together, and it just makes it exciting to be able to be with you today as well. One thing we do want to talk about is that we have a show that kind of, I guess everybody deals with this, and a lot of people do it in their own way, but sometimes you need to have some information. The Bible says, knowledge is a key component to being a success in life, and so we're going to give some people some knowledge today.
And out of the multitude of counsel.
Right, exactly. All of us have lost loved ones. You, of course, and me. Right before we met each other, both had lost a parent, and it was a difficult time. And I know a lot of times we don't like to talk about these things, but they are part of life. People, and it's not a penalty to go to heaven. It's not a penalty, obviously, but us being left here, we need to understand some things that our physical body and our emotions and all those things go through. It all plays out. And I always tell people this: God did not create us mentally, emotionally, or physically capable of being able to handle death. And so what he has done, though, he's taught us how to, at these moments, or given us instruction on how to lean upon him. And that's what we're really going to talk about today, and the grieving process and how that happens, and those kind of things will help people understand it and get through it. And,
I probably don't completely understand, and I'll probably learn a little bit more today, but I always found that my grief came in waves.
Yeah.
And that might be actually something that we're going to find out that really is the way it works.
And I'll just confess to you right now, when I lost my father recently, it was probably a difficult moment in my life, but I've never really come to grips with it. I know he's not there, but I still, I don't know, it's just an interesting thing. And so I'm going to discover today, too, what I'm facing right now. And obviously, all of us that have lost loved ones, we need to understand what's going on and learn a little bit more what the Scripture has to say about it and how it coincides with the newfound new studies that we have available to us. So we're ready?
We're ready.
Well, I think I'll enter. Hey, by the way, too, we have Nicole Matthews coming up just a little bit. Nicole, hang on, girl. It's going to be awesome when we get to hear her take us into worship. But when that happens, we have with us our very special guest today that's going to help all of us tremendously. And we have Fred Kitchen. We're glad that you're here with us. Almost said Frederick, but that's okay. I don't know. Is that your real name?
No, Frederick.
It really is? Okay, that's why I
We'll stick with Fred.
Yeah.
We'll stick with Fred.
Anyway, Fred, we are so glad to have you with us today. We're just excited about you're going to fill in some blanks for us because, people don't talk about a lot of things in church. They don't talk about things that we really do need to know about. We don't talk about money a lot, people, because they get afraid of getting accused of talking about money too much. And a lot of times we don't talk about death a lot, too, because we don't really know what to say about it and how to really comfort one another. The only thing we know to do is comfort one another with the words that there is a life beyond this life, and that is a comfort. And I always say things that they've passed from our present into our future, and give that people hope of coming to grips with the fact that we're going to see one another again. Right. But there is a grieving process, and it is proper, and God intended for us to grieve. And the Bible even says, when you do grieve, don't grieve like the world grieves, because the world grieves in sorrow and without hope. He said, right. But when you grieve with hope. So it lets me know that you are supposed to grieve. So let's talk about the grieving process today. And first question I want to ask, because Christmas just went by us, and I noticed that maybe like emotions get amplified. So is there times of the year when the grieving process maybe comes back up on you, or is it heavier at times? Tell us a little bit about that. Let's get a little understanding of that.
Yes. Pastor Chuck, usually around the holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's is probably one of the most difficult times of year for a family. And that is when, family are usually together, and that's usually when there is an empty spot at that table.
Wow.
And that's when that really, the grief really comes back around, that Jamie said a minute ago. It seems like it comes in cycles, it comes in waves, and it does. There's things that we work through to get through our grief, but I don't know that we ever get over the loss or get over funneling through the grief.
What you're saying is there's no way emotionally or mentally we ever really just, like it never ever happened.
Right.
Because there's always going to be a piece of that. I mean, that's comforting to me to know that. Because there's times I've cried about my mom as recent as this past year. And I mean, she's been gone for quite a while, yet it still came back upon me so heavily that I get misty-eyed and teary-eyed when I see a picture sometime or hear a phrase that she used to say or something like that. It really is true. It happens.
Well, I heard a grief counselor say one time, he said, you don't do something for 25, 30, 40 years. You don't set that same table. You don't unwrap those same Christmas gifts year after year. You don't have those ceremonial events together to just one day act like all that never happened when they're gone. So, one of the things that he mentioned was set that table at Thanksgiving. If that helps you, still set that table setting where that loved one once was until you can kind of work through this. It's not something that you just, like I said, for 25 or 30 years that you go through, and then all of a sudden one day you just act like it never happened.
Wow.
They were part of our life. They affected our lives, and we don't ever want to forget. But we want to work through to where we can continue to live a healthy life.
Right. And, David, I think, put it best. He said that, I can't get you to come back to me, but I can live a life so I can go to you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably a little piece I want to kind of mold and shape in here, and that hope. So you can set that table and know that there's hope there. It's a loss, but there's still
hope.
Yeah, you're going to see each other again.
Well, early on, you talked about some processes. I guess there's 5 steps.
Right. A lady by the name of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross she was a grief psychologist and studied grief for many years, and she came up with what she called the grief cycle. The grief cycle was basically 5 stages of grief that we would go through as human beings, that we go through. And the first one was denial, that we absolutely deny that this has happened to us. And sometimes denial does not always start at a death. It can start prior to a death. We can get the news that we're getting a family member that's terminally ill. We're people of faith, and we believe, we're hoping for that miracle. We're hoping for that healing. But sometimes, God's way of dealing with things is way different than what we anticipate that we want things to happen. And so a lot of people will start denying, this isn't happening to me, this can't be happening to me. And that's the first stage of grief that one goes through.
But denial could continue even for a long period of time, correct?
Denial can continue for years, actually.
Wow, and I wanted to say that there are people that don't mean to, but they never come to grips with what is really taking place. And so they live in a phase of denial for extended years.
Right,
Wow.
right.